All right, let's talk about a book that's almost 100 years old, but somehow feels like it was written for today. F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. It's a pretty short read, full of glamour, but wow, does it pack a punch. So what is it about this story from 1925 that still hits so hard? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into.
It all kicks off with these legendary parties. Fitzgerald just drops you right into the roaring 20s with imagery like this. Think about it. People fluttering around like moths, drawn to this incredible flame of champagne and stars. This was the Jazz Age, just pure excess. And right in the middle of it all was this guy nobody really knew, Jay Gatsby.
And that's the real hook, isn't it? Every weekend his mansion is flooded with people, but the man himself is a total ghost. You hear all these crazy rumors. Is he a war hero? Did he go to Oxford? Was he a spy? The speculation was wild, and that central mystery is what drives the whole story forward.
So, to figure out who Gatsby really is, we first have to understand the world he's trying so desperately to break into. And let me tell you, it's a world built on invisible walls, hidden secrets, and some really powerful symbols.
Fitzgerald does this brilliant thing where the geography is literally a map of the class system. Over here, you've got East Egg. That's where the old money lives. People like Tom and Daisy Buchanan, who were born into so much wealth they don't even know what to do with it. Then, right across the bay, you have West Egg. This is for the new money, like Gatsby. It's flashy, it's loud, and it's all about showing off. And trapped right between them, the Valley of Ashes. A grim, gray wasteland that shows you the grim reality holding up all that glamour.
Okay, so we've got the lay of the land. Now it's time to pull back the curtain on Gatsby himself. Because all that money, those insane parties, it was all a show, staged for one person and one person only.
Here's the big secret. There is no Jay Gatsby. He was born James Gatz, a poor kid from a farm family with huge ambitions. He literally invented this new identity for himself. He got rich quick through some less than legal means, and he bought that huge mansion for a single reason: to be right across the water from Daisy Buchanan, the woman he'd fallen for 5 years earlier.
And this, right here, is the key to everything. Gatsby doesn't just want Daisy back. He wants to literally turn back the clock and erase the last 5 years, as if they never happened. He truly believes his money can rewrite the past. It's an idea that's unbelievably romantic and, of course, completely impossible. And his whole obsession is captured in this one perfect image. Every night, Gatsby would stand out on his lawn and just reach for this tiny green light blinking at the end of Daisy's dock. To him, that light wasn't just a light. It was everything. It was the past. It was the future he wanted. It was this perfect, beautiful dream that was always, always just out of his grasp.
Okay, so this is where the story gets bigger than just one man's obsession. Gatsby's personal quest starts to look a lot like the American dream itself. But the version we see in this book is, well, it's a version that has gone seriously wrong.
The whole book is this constant tug of war between how things look and how they really are. You've got the illusion of Gatsby's heroic past, right? But the reality is his money comes from organized crime. You've got the illusion of these parties full of happy, connected people. But the reality is Gatsby is totally, painfully alone. And the biggest one of all, the illusion of the American dream, that you can be anyone you want to be, smashing right up against the hard reality that some doors will always be closed to you.
So what happened to the dream? The book basically argues that it got hollowed out. The original idea, the pursuit of happiness, got replaced by the pursuit of stuff. It became all about materialism. It's no longer about being happy, it's about looking successful. And that's a goal that in the end is just completely empty.
And watching over this entire moral wasteland is one of the creepiest symbols in literature, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. They're just part of a faded old billboard for an eye doctor, but they stare out over everything. It's this chilling idea that in this world, God isn't watching. Or if he is, he's just an advertisement. There's no moral compass, just this big, empty stare.
Look, when you build a world on illusions this fragile, it's just a matter of time before it all comes crashing down. And that's where we're heading now. This story starts hurtling towards its tragic ending, where Gatsby's fantasy slams right into the real world.
The whole thing blows up on a brutally hot day in a cramped hotel room in New York City. You can practically feel the heat and the tension coming off the page. This is where Gatsby finally puts it all on the line. He confronts Daisy's husband, Tom, and demands that she tell him she never loved him. But it all goes wrong. Tom starts tearing Gatsby down, revealing where all his money really came from. And under that pressure, Gatsby's perfect mask just shatters. Daisy is forced to choose between Gatsby's beautiful, impossible dream and her safe, comfortable reality with Tom. And she can't do it. She retreats. The dream is over.
Driving home from that disaster, the final tragedy strikes. Daisy, who's driving Gatsby's car, hits and kills Tom's mistress, Myrtle, and she doesn't even stop. It's this one moment of shocking violence that seals everybody's fate, and it's a direct result of the careless, morally bankrupt world they all live in.
And this is where our narrator, Nick, delivers the final, devastating verdict on people like Tom and Daisy. He says, they were careless people. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money. Think about that. They cause all this destruction and then just disappear behind their wealth, leaving other people to clean up the mess. It's just a brutal takedown of the super rich.
So Gatsby's dream dies, and then he dies, totally alone. After all that tragedy, all that darkness, why is this book still considered one of the all-time greats? Why do we keep coming back to it almost a century later?
What's wild is that when Gatsby first came out, it was kind of a flop. It got mixed reviews and didn't sell very well. It wasn't until decades later, in the 40s and 50s, that people started to realize what a masterpiece it was. And from there, it just grew and grew until it became what it is today, an absolute staple of American literature.
And I think the reason it's lasted is because its big ideas feel so incredibly relevant. A story about the huge unfair gap between the rich and the poor? Yeah, that still resonates. A story about someone carefully creating a public image to hide their insecurities? That sounds a lot like social media, doesn't it? But really, at its core, it just perfectly captures that universal human feeling, that deep, powerful ache for something you want so badly but can never, ever have.
The book ends with one of the most beautiful lines ever written, saying that we're all like boats, fighting against the current, constantly being pulled back into the past. And it leaves us with this final, powerful question that kind of turns the mirror back on us. Gatsby's dream was that green light across the water. So it really makes you wonder, what's your green light? What are you chasing?